I'll be coming home in no time. Look after him for me, won't you?
You really in charge out in the elephant?
Aye. My dad's away to war. This is Austin. Hello?
Who are you?
I'm Tom. What's happening?
Zoo's closed today, son.
You've got no business being here today. Off you go.
Dangerous animals must be destroyed.
I have to follow orders
in case the animals escape during the bombings.
Stay away from me and Buster.
I'm sitting here with Colin McIvor, and we've just seen his film, The Zoo, at the Capital Irish Film Festival. So first question I have is, what's the allure to making a feature film versus the commercial work that you've done in the past?
The commercial work is really a means to an end for me. You know, I mean, it's about the feature work, really. It's about the filmmaking. And that for me is sort of the juice. That's why I do what I do. Commercial work pays the bills. It's always been a way to hone my skills behind the camera, but it's always been with a plan to shoot movies and tell stories that I want to tell.
One of the first things that they taught me when I went to film school was never work with children and animals. And here you are breaking all those rules. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about that experience with the zoo.
Yeah, I've got that pretty much from day one. I've always worked with children. It was never a plan, but I suppose my first successful short was with a young child, and it did very well. You know, some people who know me would say, yeah, you're joking, but I probably have a bit of a childish instinct when it comes to storytelling. You know, I had a great childhood. Everything was an adventure, and, you know, a big influence for me was the likes of Stand By Me or Huckleberry Finn, all those sort of balmy summer adventures, you know. And then bringing the elephant into it, that came really from the story of the woman, Denise Austin, who kept the elephant in her backyard, you know. So you never plan to go and find the hardest things to film with, but, you know, when you're there, you deal with it. And I've got to say, you know, that number one, the elephant was fantastic, and number two, the children were fantastic. So I don't know any different, really, you know, and I would probably do it all over again.
It seems like more and more films these days begin with the line based on a true story. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how that played into making the zoo, how much is fact and fiction, and, you know, when you have the kernel of a story like that, what do you bring to it, and how far can you take it past what really happened?
To be frank, as a writer, I'm not a hugely deep thinker, and I don't tear myself apart, you know, getting into the sort of deep aesthetics of a movie or a story. But I just knew that there was probably something more required than a woman keeping the elephant in her backyard, much as that was very heroic and that resonates with audiences and stuff. I just thought there was another aspect to it where, you know, you had this horrific, tumultuous period of time in Belfast where the city was being torn apart, and yet the children lived oblivious. They played in the streets. I just felt that I could bring another aspect. You know, it was never from a commercial aspect. It was never from a, you know, we could get this type of audience. It was just a, how do I elevate the story to another level, whilst the cornerstone or the center stone being a woman who did this heroic act.
Without giving anything away to folks who haven't seen the film, it's not the sort of outcome that I think American audiences are used to with characters, especially a child. But I think that it was brave, and the film is stronger for it.
Yeah, I mean, it was very important to me that we portrayed what actually happened at the time, 1941, when Belfast was blitzed by the German Luftwaffe. There was horrific loss of life, over 2,000 people. The city was devastated, and I just felt that to not have a hint or, you know, to reflect the reality of the situation would have been too Hollywood. It would have been too saccharine, you know, all the things that I didn't want it to be. I wanted to remain real, and I always knew from day one, script one, that was always the outcome, you know, so that's what I was going for.
What's it like to be on tour with a film, and what's the reception been like?
Yeah, I mean, we're in our infancy with Zoo. Zoo is really just kicking off. This is only our third screening in the States. In fact, the third screening at all to a live audience. It played in Chicago, then New York, and now here in Washington. You know what? I probably can't think about factors like whether it's going to hinder it or not giving a Hollywood ending. But I also think we're in a really different world now, and people are looking for different things in their movies and reflecting reality. And yeah, I mean, it's been lovely to see the response, you know, and I hope that continues. And I hope it's a feel-good movie. It's a movie of hope, and it's a movie about animal welfare, but it also reflects the reality of our life and times and the times of 1941 Belfast.